in infancy is born out of non-consanguineous marriage and no other members in family having a heart disease. On examination,
What is the history?
When SOB since infancy and frequent respiratory tract infections in infancy, sir.
Okay.
Yes. General physical examination.
But other important thing you have to mention about the history of the cyanosis observed by the mother, whether it's exertional or the rest. That is also important in the history itself.
Yes.
Is there or no?
No history of cyanotic spells are squatting
Not
episode.
the spell, I'm asking about the cyanosis. Not that all the cyanosis will be the followed by the spell.
Yes. Not noticed by mother, madam. No cyanosis.
Especially when the patient has a recurrent respiratory tract infections, that's so that increase the pulmonary blood flow. So we in the early childhood presentations has to be distinguished within one group of the diseases, which we are going to discuss it. So you have to mention about whether cyanosis is observed by the mother from the childhood, either at the rest or during exertion.
Yes, ma'am. General physical examination. Weight is 14 kgs, height is 100 centimeter with no anemia. Cyanosis present on examination, no jaundice and pan-digital clubbing present, no lymphadenopathy and no pedal edema. Vitals, blood pressure 100 by 40 millimeter of mercury. Pulse rate is 100 per minute, regular. High volume collapsing pulse with no radial radiofemoral delay. Respiratory rate is 24 per minute and is evaporate. And cardiovascular examination, JVP, normal mean column height with normal wave pattern and inspection and palpation. LV apex is in left 60 intercostal space outside mid-lateral line. Hyperdynamic type, grade 2 by 3 parasternal pulsations present. No palpable sounds or thrills. On auscultation, first heart sound is normal, second heart sound is single and loud. And there is aortic ejection click present. And grade 3 by 6 harsh mid-systolic murmur in left third and fourth spaces parasternally, and there is a high frequency glowing LE diastolic murmur in left third space occupying 50% of diastole with no radiation and no additional murmurs over the precardium.
So with this history and these examination findings, what is your differential diagnosis? Do you have a differential diagnosis or a single diagnosis findings? See, first history, in the history you have, as Josna was suggesting to you directly, you have history of recurrent respiratory tract infection. In fact, we would have been more happy if you have given more history about congestive heart failure in infancy, feeding difficulties, failure to thrive, all these things, not merely recurrent respiratory tract infections. That itself does not mean it is cardiac cause. Okay? Feeding difficulties, and especially in India with low socioeconomic status, recurrent bronchopulmonary pneumonias, bronchopneumonias, etc. is quite common in poor social groups. That need not mean it is a congestive heart failure. So, for congestive heart failure, for you to be certain about congestive heart failure in history, there should be feeding difficulties and failure to thrive, extremely important, along with recurrent lower respiratory tract infections requiring hospitalization, etc. So, assuming that this child had congestive heart failure, neonatal congestive heart failure, and also there is diagnosis of cyanotic heart disease. So, what are the possibilities with this combination of cyanosis with congestive heart failure?
Yes, sir. One possibility is admixture physiology, sir, and second is transposition with VSD, sir. Transposition physiology with VSD, sir.
So, in other words, there should be pulmonary overcirculation to cause recurrent respiratory tract infections as well as congestive heart failure, and also some complex physiology to cause cyanosis. As you have said, is most possible with most of the admixture lesions as well as DTJ with no PS, especially with a large VSD. So, what are all the admixture physiologies you know of?
Yes, sir. Admixture physiology, sir. At atrial level, ventral level, and great vessel level, sir. At atrial level, TAPVC, sir, and common atrium and tricuspid atresia. At ventricular level, single ventricle, DORV, and hypoplastic left left hypoplastic left ventricle at great vessel level, truncus arteriosus, sir.
Okay. What are the transposition physiology examples?
Yes, sir. Transposition, DTGA, LTGA.
LTGA, you don't have a complete transposition, it's a corrected transposition. So don't bring in LTGA, it's a totally different situation, LTGA. So, okay, DTGA. Anything else which is a very close mimic of DTGA in physiology? Toxic wing, which is DORV with subpulmonic VSD. It's almost practically similar to DTGA. Even management also will be similar to DTGA. So DTGA physiology will have DTGA as well as toxic wing. Though DORV itself is, as you said, in admixture physiology, toxic wing will have a transposition physiology because of the subpulmonic location of VSD. Okay. So these are all the possibilities from history. Now, after your examination, can you narrow them down to among all these conditions? You can be enlisted with. So, what is meant by admixture physiology? Can you define that?
Yes, sir. Admixture physiology. There is mixing of pulmonary and systemic circulation in one chamber, and from there, the blood will be pumped into both systemic and pulmonary circulation, sir.
Very good. So what is that? So that's called as a mixing chamber. So now you tell us what is the mixing chamber for each of the conditions you mentioned.
Yes.
Like what is the mixing chamber for TAPVC?
Yes, sir. For TAPVC, right atrium is the mixing chamber, sir.
Common atrium?
Sir, common atrium. For common atrium, atrium is the mixing chamber, sir.
Yeah, common atrial chamber itself. We can't say there is no right or no left. No, so common atrium is the mixing chamber. For tricuspid atresia?
Left ventricle is the mixing chamber.
Left atrium. Left atrium is the mixing chamber for tricuspid atresia. Truncus?
For truncus arteriosus,
Truncus is the mixing chamber. Okay, so truncus is the mixing chamber. So what is another characteristic of admixture lesions? One is this common mixing chamber at different levels. There is another important physiological feature. What is that?
Streaming, sir. Streaming is an important feature.
Very good. So what do you mean by streaming? What do you understand by that?
Selective direction of the circulation from a chamber into a particular vessel, sir.
To be more correctly, put it more correctly. So though there is mixing of systemic venous return and pulmonary venous return, that is impure blood and pure blood, though they are mixed, there is selective streaming of the systemic venous return selectively into the pulmonary artery for getting oxygenated, and the more oxygenated pulmonary venous return will selectively stream into the aorta. That is after the physiological advantage of the patient. Okay, so streaming is what makes the survival possible. Okay, in these patients. That is important to understand. Okay, so most often these admixture lesions are pulmonary over-circulation situations. But once there is a PS in any of these situations, then they will lose that lesion loses its admixture characteristic, and it will behave like a VSDPS physiology only, similar to TOF. Though there may be some differences, like the much more early onset of cyanosis, much more pronounced cyanosis than TOF, and all these things will be there. But still, it will present like TOF because of VSD and the presence of PS. So there won't be any admixture features in those patients. They will have squatting, they will have hypercyanotic spells and all those things. So here, it doesn't look like that. It looks like a over circulation of the blood into the lungs and congestive heart failure. So now, you summarize your examination findings, important examination findings.
Cyanosis present, sir, clubbing present, and there is single second heart sound, and there is high volume collapsing pulse, and has mid-systolic murmur, and soft blowing early diastolic murmur.
Wild pulse pressure also.
Yeah, that is important. That is important.
High volume, wild pulse pressure.
So what is the differential diagnosis? Do you have single diagnosis, or can you give differential diagnosis for these findings?
differentiated as truncus with truncal wall regurgitation one, sir.
Okay, one is truncus arteriosus with truncal wall regurgitation. Very good. Any other thing? In other words, I will put another question. What are the
Yes, sir.
cyanotic conditions where you will have a wide pulse pressure or a aortic runoff situation, peripheral collapsing pulse, etc., with peripheral signs of AR with cyanosis? What are the
Yes, sir.
conditions?
And TAF with AR, sir, one, and TAF with pulmonary atresia, and truncus with truncal wall
Pulmonary
regurgitation.
atresia alone won't cause. That also should have AR. Because
Yeah, yes.
AR incidence is much more higher in pulmonary atresia than in plain TAF. You will have these features much more in TAF with pulmonary atresia.
Yes, sir. And PDA Eisenmangeration with pulmonary regurgitation, sir.
And truncus with truncal wall regurgitation. So these are the important cyanotic conditions with the peripheral runoff. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Or TAF with large PDA. TAF with not always necessarily with AR. A child with large PDA with TAF also can have peripheral signs of runoff. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So why do you say this is truncus? I say this is TAF with pulmonary atresia. What is your objection? You can have a early diastolic murmur because of runoff. You can have a single second sound, which may be aortic component. We don't know whether A2 or P2 when you have single second component, second sound, and cyanosis. What are the important points against in this? You see, you usually don't have history of congestive heart failure, though rarely it is
Yes, sir.
possible. Rarely it is possible because pulmonary overcirculation can occur in TAF with pulmonary atresia. Large MAPCAS, multiple MAPCAS, every volume overload can occur, but that is a very rare situation. That is not common. On examination, you have is a systolic murmur that rules out a pulmonary atresia. Because there is a. But where is the murmur arising in this patient? Is it across VSD or across truncus?
Across truncus and across VSD also, sir. And there is harsh mesosystolic.
Yeah, see, this is a murmur which arises across VSD. So blood grows across VSD into the truncus. It's a biventricular truncus. So you don't get a systolic murmur either across VSD or across RVOT in pulmonary atresia. So presence of a systolic murmur at the base of the heart strongly militates against the possibility of pulmonary atresia. One more thing is, you will expect multiple collateral murmurs in pulmonary atresia, which are not present in this patient. So presence of a systolic murmur and absence of collateral murmurs practically rules out the possibility of TAF with pulmonary atresia in this patient. So anything else? Why is not, forget about the age, why is it not PDA with Eisenmenger? You said that can cause peripheral runoff. And that early diastolic murmur is PR murmur. And there is a short systolic murmur for whatever reason, there may be across.
PDA, Eisenmengers, when it can have a peripheral runoff, usually PDA will have the peripheral runoff. Once an Eisenmenger occurs, again it is reverse, peripheral runoffs are not same. But again, the reappears. When it is reappears?
When pulmonary regurgitation is present, madam.
Yeah.
He told you.
Yeah. So how do you distinguish the EDM character of the AR versus the pulmonary regurgitation?
The location, madam.
Even in the aortic origin, AR also can be the prominent in the third intercostal space also. That is neo-aortic area.
Yes, ma'am. And
So murmur characteristic, will it help you? Intensity or pitch?
it's high frequency in AR, madam.
How is that in hypertensive PR murmur? What is that called as? What is the eponym given to hypertensive pulmonary regurgitation murmur? There is a proper noun given to that, no? Associated with the proper noun. What is that?
Graham
Yes.
Graham kaadu.
Graham Steel murmur.
Graham Steel
Graham
murmur. You cannot fumble on these simple questions. Okay. So Graham Steel murmur also is a high-pitched and soft blowing murmur because it is a hypertensive PR murmur, unlike a low-pressure PR murmur where you will have a low to medium-pitched murmur. And here both murmurs are AR murmur and PR murmur. Both are decrescendo in nature. They are decrescendo. Whereas a low-pressure PR murmur will be a crescendo-decrescendo type. It will not be simply decrescendo. That is how you differentiate a low-pressure PR from high-pressure PR. It is a low-pitched murmur, crescendo-decrescendo. And how else will you differentiate? You can't differentiate from pitch or intensity or blowing character or decrescendo character, AR or PR. Location also, as Josna said, will be similar, more or less same.
The major thing is the change of the posture. Like in AR, sitting and leaning forward, whereas PR is not going to be affected. Inspiration, it is a held expiration and that is an inspiration. And leg raising causes the increase the murmur of the PR but not of the AR. Hand grip murmur, the stray increases the AR murmur but not the PR. Like that, dynamic and auscultation is also able to distinguish between that. And of course, then effects of LV type in the case of AR, whereas the PR it is an RV type. So there are the associated signs will be the more helpful to distinguish those things.
Yeah, see, if there is significant PAH signs are there and an idiom is there, it is likely to be a PR murmur. And as Josna said, if it increases with inspiration, that strongly goes in favor of PR. Unless the patient is in congestive heart failure, the murmur increases with the inspiration. So right-sided murmurs increasing with inspiration is called as what sign? What is that sign?
Carvalho signs.
Carvalho sign. Okay. But in rheumatic heart disease with pulmonary arterial hypertension also, if you have an idiom, it is more likely to be AR than PR, though there is severe pulmonary arterial hypertension. That is the only situation where the idiom is always due to AR rather than PR. But in things like in a patient like this, you should consider PR. So you consider here. So why not? This is a PDA with Eisenmenger with PR.
How is going to be the second heart sound?
Second heart sound is single, madam. In truncus, single, loud, madam.
Again in the PDA?
In PDA also it's with Eisenmengerization, single, madam.
It becomes single. So that is not going to be the much useful. What else?
No, usually it will be narrow split. It is not single in PDA Eisenmenger. But then it may be difficult to make out the split.
Actually, 20% of the cases of the PDA with an Eisenmenger said it is mentioned in the Joule's constant itself as a single sound can be there. Even though it's narrow
majority will have split. It will be maintained as split. It will be maintained in majority of the patients. But the problem is you may not be able to make out the split. Even if there is a split, it may be present on phonocardiographic examination but not clinical examination because of very banging P2 masking the A2. Then, which is a very closely split to a second heart sound, A2 may not be made out, appreciated. So second heart sound may not help. It may help but may not help also. Anything else? How else? Ejection click also doesn't help. We have an ejection click here. It's almost always ejection click is there. You said aortic. It's not aortic. It's a truncal ejection click. Or if it is it's not a truncus situation, it is a pulmonary valve ejection click. It is not aortic ejection click. Okay. So ejection click can be there in PDA also with severe PAH valve, pulmonary vascular click can be there. So how do you differentiate? So ejection systolic murmur is something, you said, no, decrescendo systolic murmur, which is a harsh systolic murmur, that is a little rare. Because in Eisenmenger PDA itself becomes silent. The duct will be silent. There won't be any murmur audible across the duct. Not even a systolic murmur. And there won't be any flow-related murmur across pulmonary artery also. So presence of a harsh systolic murmur with these signs, with these clinical signs, is more likely to be due to truncus than PD Eisenmenger. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, go to the ECG.
Yes, sir. ECG, sir. Is a 12-lead 4-chamber ECG with normal standardization in normal sinus rhythm, and loop cannot get, sir, because of no QoS in 1 AVL, 2-3 AVL, and the axis is around 90 degrees normal axis, sir, and P wave height is 3 mm in lead 2 suggestive of right atrial enlargement, and PR segment is 120 millisecond in normal duration. And Harvey, and there is a and QRS RSR pattern in V1, suggestive of right atrial volume overload, and there is R wave height is 25 mm in V5, suggestive of left ventricular hypertrophy, and there is a late transition in V4, and the S wave height is around 10 mm in V5 and 4 mm in V6, suggestive of right ventricular enlargements.
So is this ECG suggestive of your clinical diagnosis of truncus?
Yes, sir. Both biventricular
So in
enlargement.
other words, what are all the ECG features in truncus with pulmonary arterial hypertension?
Truncus with pulmonary arterial hypertension, sir. And there is a normally clockwise loop with normal axis, and there is LV enlargement and biventricular hypertrophy present, sir.
If there is a left ventricular hypertrophy and LV volume overload, there can be left axis deviation also can be there.
Yes.
Okay, left axis deviation can also be there, but usually it will be an inferior axis, not superior axis.
Yes.
Okay. Then, as
With
pulmonary
Eisenmenger-
hypertension develops and Eisenmengeration develops, what will happen?
There is right axis deviation and right ventricular hypertrophy, and LV forces are less prominent, sir, after development of pulmonary.
Yeah, they'll disappear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, X-ray. Conversely, we have considered PD Eisenmenger also. Left ventricular forces will be persistent even after the development of Eisenmenger syndrome in PDA. There will be narrow, deep Q wave with tall R wave in lateral leads in PDA. That will present, unlike in VSD Eisenmenger. So PDA Eisenmenger LVH persists for some reason. So that may help you in ECG if you have dealing with an Eisenmenger, but LVH is still there. That is more likely PD Eisenmenger.
Yes, sir. X-ray, sir. Going to X-ray. It is an chest X-ray PAVU, well centralized and well exposed film, and there is fundic shadow on left side of suggestive of situs, and apex is towards left side suggestive of levocardia, and there is cardiomegaly suggested by cardiothoracic ratio more than 0.5, and there is a right atrial enlargement suggested by right atrium occupying 3 intercostal spaces, and LV type of apex, and pulmonary vascular markings are increased suggestive of increased pulmonary blood flow. The pulmonary vascular markings extend up to lateral 1/3 of the film. And
What about the aorta? That is the most
Yes,
important
again.
topic to discuss.
there is dilatation of the truncus, madam. This right side shadow suggestive of truncal dilatation.
Now, why is that not SVC shadow? What you are showing? So how do you differentiate an SVC shadow from ascending aortic shadow?
SVC shadow is a little higher than
Usually, so the shadow can be traced straight into the neck,
neck.
whereas the arch will take a turn in the superior mediastinum towards the left.
Yes, sir. Man.
So here it seems to be going up. It is more like an SVC shadow than there may be a superimposed arch shadow. I don't say no. So in X-ray, what are the clues to suspect truncus arteriosus? Tell me two important clues.
Yes, sir. The and there is a notch on the trachea, sir, suggestive of right side aortic arch, and the
Right aortic arch can be present in any condition. Most conditions, complex conditions, there can be present. In what situation right aortic arch is important here? See, patient with congestive heart failure and increased pulmonary blood flow, if you have a right aortic arch, that almost always suggests truncus. No other situation will have right aortic arch like that.
yes,
VSG, PDA, nothing will have. Only truncus will have a right aortic arch with the pulmonary over circulation.
pulmonary.
So that is an important clue. Any other clue?
And higher location of the main pulmonary artery above the hilar level, sir.
Okay. Anything else? So, in a patient with severe PAH or Eisenmenger syndrome, if the X-ray is not showing a prominent main pulmonary artery, in fact, there is pulmonary concavity or bay is preserved. That is truncus arteriosus, not the type 1, but the type 2 and type 3 truncus. Because there is no main pulmonary artery segment at all, you won't get a pulmonary artery dilatation or convexity there. So, concavity will be there, but PAH is there. That is truncus. So, these are the two important clues. One is right aortic arch with increased pulmonary blood flow. The other one is absence of pulmonary artery segment in a PAH patient is suggestive of a type 2 or type 3 truncus. In type 1 truncus, it will be preserved. Similarly, in clinical examination also, usually you will have a palpable second sound in the second space, the palpable second truncal sound, because the truncal wall closes at systemic pressure, it is palpable. If it is a type 1 truncus. But in type 2 and type 3 truncus, you will not have any pulsations in the second space. MPA pulsations are not possible there. Okay. So, you describe this X-ray.
On X-ray examination, there is right atrial enlargement, LV type of apex, and truncal dilatation, and right side aortic arch, and dilatation of the main pulmonary artery, and is situated above the hilar level.
So, is there right aortic arch here?
Yes, sir. This indentation is here, sir.
Oh, I am unable to see it. So, what is the incidence of right aortic arch in truncus?
Around 22 to 39%, sir. Up to 40%, it can be there, sir. Right side aortic arch.
So, where will you have highest incidence of right aortic arch among all congenital heart diseases?
In truncus arteriosus only, sir. Highest.
So, truncus, according to Perloff, it is 30%. Okay, in Garson, it is 36%. And there is another book called Jefferson Cardiac Radiology. That is an X-ray book, old book. Jefferson says as much as 50% in truncus. Jefferson gives highest incidence for truncus. But Garson says 36%. Perloff puts it around 30%. Then cologist next diagnosis lesion which has a very high incidence of right aortic arch is pulmonary atresia. Okay.
Yes, sir.
According to Perloff that and Moss, that is the highest incidence, where you will have up to 50% in Moss. Okay. So you can say 30 to 40% you will be safe if you say 35 to 40% in both pulmonary atresia as well as truncus. Okay. So right aortic arch is there. Describe.
Right aortic arch, sir. There are 3 types of right aortic arch, sir. Edward classification. Type 1 right aortic arch.
I not asked you. Describe this X-ray. We will discuss that presently. We will discuss that.
Is there any shadow in the left upper mediastinum also?
Shadow.
Left side.
Yes, madam.
There is a shadow going upward.
This is a main pulmonary artery, madam.
That is
Pine.
Yeah, that's one.
It can be left SVC, madam.
Is that association is there with the truncus?
Yes, madam. Left SVC present up to 4 to 9% cases. Left SVC present, madam, in truncus arteries.
Okay. So describe this properly. Cardiomegaly is there?
Yes, sir. Cardiomegaly is there.
What are the chambers enlarged? So
Right atrial enlargement.
Cardiomegaly.
Cardiomegaly with right atrial enlargement present, sir.
And what is the contour? Ventricular contour is?
LV type of contour, sir.
So LV contour, right atrial enlargement, cardiomegaly, significantly dilated main pulmonary artery, and even right pulmonary descending pulmonary artery is dilated, right aortic arch. So
And-
these things are very suggestive of a truncus.
Right.
Okay. So can there be an absence of a pulmonary artery in truncus?
Yes, sir. About 15 to 16% cases absent of pulmonary artery is there, sir, in truncus arteriosus.
So what is the relation between the arch-sidedness and absence of pulmonary artery in truncus versus trough?
Yes, sir. In truncus arteriosus, the arch, same side is absent, sir. Like in right side aortic arch, right pulmonary artery is absent, sir. Whereas in tetralar fallout, opposite side is absent, sir. Like in right side aortic arch with left pulmonary artery absent, sir. In tetralar fallout.
So what is the commonest pulmonary artery what is the pulmonary artery that is more commonly absent in truncus? Okay, that relation is accepted. Same side, relationship is same.
Yes, sir.
Is it, simply speaking, is it right pulmonary artery or left pulmonary artery which is more commonly absent?
Right pulmonary artery is most commonly absent in truncus arteriosus, sir.
No, in both situations, it is left pulmonary artery only.
It is left, it is not the right.
See, both situations it's left pulmonary artery, but then the arrangement of arch will be different in both conditions. It will be same side so you will have more often a left aortic arch in truncus when pulmonary artery is absent. In other words, when left pulmonary artery is absent more commonly. Similarly, you will have more often a right aortic arch in trough when you have a pulmonary artery absent which is left, because it is the opposite side pulmonary artery which is absent here. But the summary is, in both situations, pulmonary artery that is more often absent is left pulmonary artery.
Pulmonary.
Anything else you want to say in X-ray? So, do you think it is still, what is the age of this child?
4 years, sir. 4 years, mate.
So, usually at the end of first year of life, it is virtually Eisenmengerization situation in truncus. Very rarely it will be operable situation, unless some degree of truncal wall stenosis or even pulmonary artery stenosis protects the pulmonary bed. That's how it is. But you will get. So, do you think this is operable from X-ray? Can you comment about that?
Yes, sir. It is operable because of pulmonary plethora is there, sir. Sir, pulmonary circulation is increased, so no pulmonary vascular obstructive disease. So it can be operable, sir, from X-ray.
And one more thing to be mentioned is the preferential flows. As we already discussed, the left pulmonary artery can be the absent, and the stenosis can happen either intrinsic or because of the truncal wall obstructing to the particular pulmonary artery with near closure origin. So preferential blood flows also to be needed to be discussed on X-ray.
Yes. Differential blood flow. Yes.
Shashi, clinically, how do you suspect that truncal valve is stenotic or truncal valve is totally patent?
Truncal valve stenosis, ejection systolic murmur present, sir, in truncal valve stenosis, sir.
Yeah, see, the relationship between cyanosis and the murmur, that is important there. If you have a truncal wall stenosis, you will have something like VSD, PS, so you will have a severe cyanosis and clubbing with, profound cyanosis with clubbing is possible in truncus because of two situations. One is completely Eisenmenger situation, the other one is a severe PS or a truncal wall stenosis or stenosis of the main pulmonary artery origin or branch pulmonary artery origin. So in that situation, you will have a rough ejection systolic murmur with significant cyanosis and clubbing. Whereas in Eisenmenger situation, you will not have a very rough ejection systolic murmur. It may be a soft flow murmur into a dilated pulmonary artery may be there. So that is the roughness and the grade of the murmur may give some clue whether you are dealing with a truncal wall stenosis or Eisenmenger situation.
Yes.
We go to the echo.
Echocardiogram. Situs saltus levocardia, 2 atria, 2 ventricle, atrioventricular concordance present, and truncus arteriosus overriding 50% of ventricular septum, and tricuspid truncal wall with moderate truncal wall regurgitation, main pulmonary artery is seen arising from left to posterolateral aspect of truncus, and there is a large infundibular VSD, biventricular hypertrophy with good biventricular function, moderate PAH and right side aortic arch, and no AHD, PDA, and coarctation of aorta.
So how will you do echo in truncus, and what is the differential diagnosis on echo for truncus? You are not
Yes.
clinically examined, you are just doing echo.
Yes, sir.
So what is the confusion with, you will have confusion with what lesion?
Confusion with TAF with pulmonary atresia, sir.
So now you methodically describe how do you do echo and how do you differentiate truncus from
Yes, sir.
pulmonary atresia.
Yes, sir. In I will do echo with in parasternal long axis VE, sir. In long axis VE, there is a large great artery overriding the interventricular septum, sir, and with slight upward tilting, and so we can see the pulmonary artery arises from the truncus, sir. In parasternal start axis VE, there is we can identify the truncal wall, whether tricuspid or quadricuspid in parasternal start axis VE, sir.
So what percentage will have tricuspid, quadricuspid and even bicuspid?
Yes, sir. Tricuspid is the most common, 50 to 70%, sir. And quadricuspid is around 29 to 36%, sir.
Bicuspid?
Bicuspid is around 9%, sir. And very rare, sir. This is bicuspid.
10%, okay, 10%.
Yes.
Then, so okay, you will see a large single great artery overriding a perimembranous VSD and parasternal long axis. So this can be
Yes.
possible with the TOF or TOF with pulmonary atresia, truncus. You can easily
sir, can be-
differentiate TOF because of RBVT view or parasternal short axis view will clearly show a separate pulmonary artery with a separate valve, especially a separate pulmonary
Separate
valve
valve.
and flow from the RBVT into that. That is differentiated. Now the problem is with pulmonary atresia and truncus.
Yes, sir.
What is the importance of these unique either bicuspid, tricuspid, or quadricuspid? Truncal wall. Do you know the importance of these? The stenosis is more frequent with the bicuspid, and quadricuspid more likely to be associated with steno regurgitation, and much more so is the origin of the coronaries. I think when you're talking about the coronary anomalies, we can talk about what is this cusps and from where the coronary arteries anomalies can origin. So another important feature is the coronary artery anomalies with this number of the cusps. So you go ahead with the pulmonary atresia versus
Pulmonary
truncus.
atresia versus truncus. Yes, madam. In truncus, madam, in parasternal long axis with slight upward tilt, we can see pulmonary artery arises from the truncus, sir. And
That is okay if it is a type 1 truncus, which is much more common than the other two types. But if it is a Collet's type 2 or type 3, then you may not see a main pulmonary artery. Still, the confusion between pulmonary atresia and truncus will continues. Okay, if you see clearly an MPA arising from the truncus after a sufficient length of aorta pulmonary segment, then it is okay. Then you can say that it is truncus, but not pulmonary atresia. But if you don't see main pulmonary artery, still it could be pulmonary atresia or truncus.
separate origin of the pulmonary artery, one thing, and PDA is present in.
See, they are not so easy as you are saying. Sometimes, especially if the patient is grown up adult with a poor echo window, it's simply impossible to trace the origin of the pulmonary arteries. So there are other indirect clues like
PDA is present in top with pulmonary arteries.
What is the major difference between the truncus and the top with the pulmonary atresia? It is the pulmonary overflow circulation. That is the decreased pulmonary circulation. So what is decreased pulmonary circulation? What is the prominent feature? How the survival happens? Is by the presence of the collaterals. The lung supply.
Yes.
So you have to see for the collaterals. How do you see for the collaterals? That is a major distinction between these two.
So that's what you have to look for MAPCAS. That's what I'm asking.
MAPCAS and
Suppression long axis you will look for MAPCAS. So
MAPCAS.
multiple color mosaics going into the pulmonary artery from the aorta that strongly goes in favor of pulmonary atresia than truncus. And similarly, a large PDA is more often a situation feature of pulmonary atresia than truncus. Truncus is almost most often truncus is absent. PDA is absent in truncus very often.
Yes, sir. More
So
than
presence of
50%.
PDA and presence of multiple collaterals by color Doppler, if you can demonstrate, that clinches the diagnosis in favor of pulmonary atresia than truncus. You see, this confusion can happen. I have seen many years ago one patient while doing echo. Patient was a post-operative patient. He was operated for pulmonary atresia by doing a BT shunt. In fact, it was a truncus. So truncus with severe PAH, again they have put a BT shunt for that, mistaking it for a pulmonary atresia. Whereas it was purely a truncus. So this can happen. Really, it's happened, not merely a theoretical discussion. Okay, so what other things you look for on echo?
If you suppose you see the PDA in a truncus, so
Yes.
what is the association of this ascending aorta and the truncus and the PDA in a truncus?
Yes, sir.
Because the
If-
PDA presence itself is not a characteristic feature of the trunk as one of the collaterals, but in the truncus also it is present. Then what is the relationship between the ascending aorta and to the PDA?
Yes, sir. PDA, presence of PDA indicates usually type 4 truncus, madam. It's interrupted aortic arch, madam.
So what is the relation between the ascending aorta and the ductus? Is there any association? Usually both are inversely related.
Yes,
Like
if
ductus is very
Yes.
prominent, the ascending aorta and the arch are becomes an hypoplastic up to the sometimes in excess of the complete interruption. And this type of interruption is a type B interruption, that is after the left sub common carotid artery origin, then obstruction occurs.
Yes.
So these are the two are inversely related.
Muscle get raised.
See, type 4, there is no such a thing called as type 4 truncus. There is no such thing called as type 4 truncus. Okay. What is type 4 truncus? You tell me. What is that?
In Carleton Edward classification, is pulmonary atresia with EA.
So that is not truncus.
Truncus.
That is,
Pseudo
that's
truncus.
what even Edwards Perloff quotes, no, with the disarming candor. Edward has said after many years ago, all these years we have been saying that there is a type 4 truncus. Do no doubt if it exists at all. That's what he said. Okay. So there is no type 4 truncus now. That is the classical, established position now. Okay. So because pulmonary atresia and truncus, they don't go to pulmonary atresia, it's a pulmonary atresia. Pulmonary atresia with VSD is pulmonary atresia with VSD. That is not truncus.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anything else you look for, Nico? What are the associated features? One is VSD.
Yes.
So now you tell the classification of truncus. Different classifications of truncus.
Yes, sir. Carleton Edward class. This is type 1, type 2, 3, sir. In type 1, main pulmonary artery arises from the left posterolateral aspect of the truncus, which divided into right and left pulmonary arteries. In type 2, the both pulmonary arteries arise separately in a close proximity from the truncus. In type 3, both pulmonary arteries arise at a distance from the truncus. And
The distance from the truncus kaadu. They have a distance between each
distance
other.
from each other, yes.
Either
Yeah,
from the lateral aspects of the truncus, they will arrange. From the right lateral and left lateral, RP and LPA will arise. Whereas in type 2, both arise close to each other on the posterior aspect of the truncus.
posterior aspect. Yes.
Okay, other things? So what is Vanpra and Vanpra classification?
Yes, sir. A1, A2, A3, A4, sir. A1 is a posterior main pulmonary artery arises from the left to posterior aspect and divided into right and left pulmonary artery, sir. And A2 is both pulmonary artery arises from the truncus, sir. In A3, In A3, there's absence of pulmonary artery with collateralization of the that side, sir. A3. A4 is
Other words, one paradox classification, we can put it into the Collat Edward also. Type 1,
yes,
A1 of the one paradox is an equivalent to the type 1 of the Collat Edward. Type 2 is type 2 and type 3 of the Collat Edwards. Type 3 is
Is
the
A2.
absence of truncus origin, one of the pulmonary arteries. Type 4 is what is the type 4?
Type 4 is with the interrupted aortic arch, madam.
Hypoplasia of the node. It can be hypoplasia to the interruption, whatever may be the grade.
So in other words, Vanpra et al. Have included arch abnormalities also into their classification.
Yes.
Okay, like you said, interrupted aortic arch and other arch abnormalities are included, and they have also further subclassified as VSD presence or absent or present. But there are virtually no cases with no VSD. Okay, but only 1 or 2 cases of truncus it seems have been reported with intact septum. So that is irrelevant aspect of Vanpra classification.
Yes.
Actually, the controversy about this intact ventricular septum is when the ventricular septum defect is there, but there is no ventricular communication. That is especially during the diastole because of the seminal wall leaflets. Ventricular septum. That is a controversial point. Should we call that as an intact truncus?
Septal defect is present, it is present. ఏంటి ఏదో క్రాస్ టాక్ వస్తుంది శ్రీకిరణ్ ని మ్యూట్ చేయమనండి.
ఇప్పుడు లేదు కదా, ఇప్పుడు బాగుంది ఈరోజు బాగుందా?
Okay, Sasi.
Yes, sir.
So, what other associated lesions you look for? One is you look for arch, then truncal valve. Truncal valve. How many cusps are there? Whether it is regurgitant or stenotic or both,
Stenotic.
and the type of truncus, type 1, type 2, type 3, etc. And then if there is any absent pulmonary artery, and as if there rarely if there is any duct, and then VSD and its extent and all these things you look. Anything else? Coronaries?
Coronary anomalies, sir. In around 80% of cases, there is RCA dominant, sir. And LAD is small other from the RCA in some cases, sir. And there is high margin of the coronaries at sinotubular junction, and there may be coronary ostial membrane, and single coronary artery. Left coronary
Hello?
artery.
There may be a single ostium resins in the pulmonary artery itself. And especially the circumflex, which takes origin from the right pulmonary artery. In a situation of the pulmonary banding is required because of the pH, the circumflex goes for the ischemia. So that specifically has to be the same. That is one of the another anomaly. Of course, LAD is going to be the very small, as it is frequently displaced to the left side when the interventricular sulcus. So it is almost doesn't reach to the nepex. So most of the time it is of the smaller size.
Yes. Yes.
So what is the relation between these truncal cusps and coronaries?
Tricuspid, in tricuspid truncal valve cases, there is most of the time is RCA dominant, sir. And RCA
No.
from the right arm.
Josna was saying about that relation between whether it's a tricuspid valve, truncal valve, what is the relation between cusps and the coronary origin, and the quadricuspid, what it will be like. Do you know anything about that?
Most of the time, this 2/3 of the cases, left coronary takes origin from the left posterior aspect of the truncal artery, whereas right coronary is in a normal position. So if it is in a bicuspid, the left system takes origin much more posterior cusp. In the quadricuspid, it is a lateral cusp which takes an origin. So the left comes either laterally or more posteriorly. But most of the time, the RCA origin takes a normal. This is more important is mainly because when you wanted to do the valve replacements, the origin and the suturing makes the difference. So
Yes, ma'am.
left has to be the paid attention when it is a quadricuspid, and circumflex has to be paid attention when the pulmonary banding is required.
Okay, go to the cath. You're running short.
Top data, sir. 4-year-old child with height 100 centimeters, weight 14 kgs, body surface area 0.62 meters square, hemoglobin 17.4, and PCV 55%. Catheter course is from right femoral vein to IVC through RA to RV, right femoral artery through aorta to LV, and present data is femoral artery 110/40 mean of EIT, RV 110/0, LV 110/0 to 2, RA 1, LV to truncus no gradient, and based on the above, the RV and LV pressures are equal, suggestive of the RV has systemic pressures equal to LV. Saturation data, femoral artery 77/77.8, SVC 57.3, IVC 63.2,
No,
RA
truncus is
61.
truncus is not entered.
Yes, sir. There's no truncal LV to truncus, no gradient is there, sir.
Then what is the truncal pressure?
Like 110, sir. Like LV pressure only.
Okay, same LV pressure, same. Okay. What is the diastolic pressure? So, okay, systolic, there is no gradient. You say it is a 110. You can assume that. But why pressure is not taken having entered into the truncus? Okay. So, you should also make an attempt to enter into the pulmonary arteries. It may be a little difficult. Yeah.
Yes.
It will be very troublesome, as I have experienced in some cases, because of the relationship between the truncus and the pulmonary arteries. It will be very difficult. But still, you should make all the attempt and effort to enter into the pulmonary artery to see if there is a gradient between pulmonary artery and truncus. That is important rather than across the truncus. Across the truncus, if there is gradient, you will go, as well know it by echo. So, PA pressures directly you have to take by entering into the pulmonary arteries, and also gradient across truncus to pulmonary artery also should say, look for that.
Yes, sir.
How do you try to attempt to pulmonary arteries? From the truncus?
Yes, fine from the truncus.
This
So,
is not-
retrograde approach or antigrade approach?
A retrograde approach, sir. Retrograde approach.
From the venous side is much better to try to enter than from the truncus itself to enter into the pulmonary arteries.
A balloon catheter will go perhaps a little more easily with an antigrade approach than retrograde approach. But anyway, it will be rather difficult only to enter into the pulmonary arteries. But you should make all the attempt to enter into them. Because especially if you have to calculate pulmonary vascular resistance to look for reversibility, PA pressures are mandatory.
Yes, sir. But
Okay. Saturation.
saturation, femoral artery 77/77.8, sir. SVC 57.3, IVC 63.2, RA 61.2, RV 62.2, LV 81.6, sir. Based on the saturation data, there is systemic desaturation present, sir.
Okay. So what are the saturation patterns that you usually expect in a classical truncus? Because truncus is a mixing chamber. Truncus is the mixing chamber.
Yes, sir.
Usually the aortic and the pulmonary artery saturations will be similar. But still,
Almost, yes.
PA saturation may be lower than aortic saturation,
Lower
as
than
we have
aortic.
discussed, because of streaming effect. Okay,
Streaming.
because of streaming, venous return will go more selectively into the PA. So PA saturation may be lower, may still be lower than
Aorta, yes.
aorta. Yeah.
And yes.
And
So what
one more thing is when this pullback, when you are taking from the LV to the truncus and saying that there is no gradient. If at all gradient is there, always it is not the truncal stenosis which is the producing it. Mostly the pressure gradient is because of the VSD at the level of the VSD level rather than the truncal valve. So we have to be, if you have a gradient, you have to be very careful at what level this gradient is produced.
Yes, sir.
Usually the VSD will be a non-restrictive large VSD.
Non-restrictive large,
VSD is very rare. So, okay, angiograms. What angiograms will you do in truncus and in what view?
Actually, this VSD is a moderate sized VSD, which are preoperatively may look like a non-restrictive. After surgery, they require a repair. So some people will require even enlargement also. So this is a well-known fact to see that where is the level of the obstruction when the catheterization, if at all obstruction is there.
Yes.
Yeah. Then what is the other thing you calculated? No, you said systemic flow. Is that possible?
Exactly.
to calculate? No. Systemic QS you mentioned it.
Yes.
చూపించు QPQS calculate చేసావా?
QS sir. Q pulmonary artery enter. So QP.
Entered, not entered. So
Not entered.
then what is the purpose of this cath? The only reason why you need a cath here is to look for reversibility and operability.
Pulmonary vascular. Yes sir.
All other information you can get non-invasively. By even if you don't get by echo, you can get by MRI or cardiac CT.
Yes.
So
Reversible
without
or irreversible?
PA pressures and PVR, this is not of much use. This catheterization study.
Yes sir.
So how will you calculate QP and QS? Okay, if you have entered into PA and taken PA pressures, what are the fallacies in the calculations of resistances in these patients?
Pulmonary vascular resistance can be calculated by mean pulmonary artery pressure by QP sir.
So is QP calculation reliable? Not only
Here,
here, for that matter, any admixture lesion, it is very high, very unreliable, and it is fraught with serious limitations because of the very fact that you will never have a proper QP there because of admixture that is occurring.
Yes.
So, what are other limitations? I'm asking in general about admixture physiology. Admixture physiology as such.
Oh, other thing you already mentioned about the streaming effects, na? So
Streaming
that is also an effect of your calculations.
calculation is streaming effect.
So you have a PA pressure of 110, which is systemic pressure, and so you don't know pulmonary vascular resistance. So it will be very hazardous to recommend operation for this child.
Yes sir.
Okay, what angiograms will you do in truncus?
Truncal root angiogram and LV angiogram sir.
What use?
For truncal AP and lateral we use sir for truncal angiogram sir.
So truncus angiogram, do you do in an antegrade approach or retrograde approach? And what is the view you take?
Yes sir. For truncal angiogram we can approach to retrogradely sir. AP and lateral we use sir.
For type 1 truncus, AP view is the best view.
Yes sir.
Type 1 truncus, you do truncal root angiogram
Yes.
in AP view.
Yes sir.
That will give you full anatomy of the truncus. Then it is dividing into the aorta and pulmonary artery and branching of the pulmonary artery. Everything is seen in AP view. There is no need for lateral view. If you are dealing with a type 2 or type 3 truncus, then you might go for a lateral view because they are arranged posteriorly from the truncus. Okay, LV angio, classically you do in a laxo view, long action, long
That's
view.
it.
Okay.
Yes sir.
So the angios.
This LV angiogram sir. LV is an LV angiogram in laxio view with catheter passed from the femoral artery through descending aorta through truncus into the LV. It's suggestive of VSD sir.
No, actually, this is an LV angiogram is required to demonstrate it? Because most of the time now we have to get the information about the pulmonary arteries.
Pulmonary arteries. Yes.
That too, if the common trunk is there, easy for surgeons to do something. If they separately, again they have to re-implant it. So that's going to be more important. And otherwise, this VSD can be seen otherwise also. Did you get any other information than the VSD in this?
Any truncal
What is
See, you
it?
don't need an LV angio for demonstration of VSD, but if at all you do an LV angio, you would do it in a lakhs of view. That's what I am trying to say.
Yes.
No, you said some regurgitation. What regurgitation you wanted to say?
Truncal wall regurgitation.
So you will get that in LV angio.
And in
See,
truncal root
LV angio will do only for demonstration of VSD.
VSD.
But truncus related anatomy, you will do only truncal root angiogram.
Truncal. Yes.
I know you show both angios first.
Occasionally, multiple muscular VSDs can be associated with that. That can be the scene if at all is there in the LV angio.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is the other angio?
This is yes, ma'am. Truncal root angiogram, ma'am. This is the truncal root angiogram APVU.
So describe this
Suggesting
angiogram. What is the root? What is the view?
Yes, sir. This is a truncal root angiogram in APVU with catheter passed from the femoral artery, so descending into truncus, showing truncal wall regurgitation.
You see, this LV has no use. Just now, it should be the AP view. You see, you may see, but you don't know what type of truncus that, whether it is a type 1 truncus or type 2 or type 3, you don't get that information at all. So you should do AP.
Like,
Any other root angiogram, truncal root angiogram is there, or is this the only one?
this is the only one I have, sir. Truncal root angiogram.
You should plan your angiogram very carefully. You should use thinking. People simply do root angiogram is whatever may be their need for angiogram. Even if you see coronaries in a single ventral transposition, people will go to the LAO view and do it. It is ridiculous.
Yes.
If you want to see the sidedness of the coronaries, you do it in AP view, which is important in TGA to confirm that morphological left coronary is on the right side. You have to do it in the AP view, not in the LAO view. People do it in LAO. Don't do like that. That's the way thought LAO view.
Hello.
Okay, show your final
Hello, sir.
diagnosis slide. This is useless.
Yes, sir. Cyanotic congenital heart disease with increased pulmonary blood flow situation, admixture physiology, truncus arteriosus type 1 with moderate PAH with right side aortic arch with moderate truncal wall
We call that
regurgitation,
moderate PA.
narrow sinus rhythm
PA pressures are systemic PA pressures you have there. Do you call that a moderate PAH?
Yes.
And the truncus will definitely have severe pulmonary artery hypertension. And you have 110 PA systolic pressure. Why did you write it as moderate PAH, Sasi? Okay. So just don't copy and paste what some senior has written. So what will you do now?
I prefer send for surgery, sir.
No, that will be taking a great risk if it is already Eisenmengerized. Though your X-ray has shown some
Pulmonary blood flow.
increased pulmonary blood flow, you simply cannot rely on that alone. I think this should be repeated. This should have been repeated, this cath, and somehow PVR should have been calculated before deciding about surgery. That is my opinion. So, what is the embryology of truncus and what is the natural history? These two things you tell.
Yes, sir. Natural history, sir. In about 55% will die by 5 weeks, sir. About 80% will die by 3 months, sir. And most common cause of death is congestive heart followed by pulmonary vascular obstructive disease, and the survival rate is 18% up to 66 months, sir, and 15% up to 1 year, sir. Natural history, sir. And embryology, there is a sir. Hello.
ఎంబ్రియాలజీ చెప్పమ్మా.
Yes, sir. There is a two truncal swellings appear in the truncus, which fissure to form septum, sir, which divides the truncus into aorta and pulmonary artery, which distally fissure with the conal septum and proximally with the aortic sac, sir. And there is around 110-degree rotation, which normally causes the normal position of the aorta and pulmonary artery. But in truncus arteriosus, there is a failure of development of the truncal septum, and the distal conus also not developed. It leads to infundibulary VSD and truncus arteriosus, sir.
Okay.
The common.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.